Hello and welcome to a new episode of Airport CEO here on the channel. As always, before we get any further into today's video, if you should end up enjoying this video, then why not leave a like? That would be very much appreciated. And of course, if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? Alright, so in the last episode, we started working on our French sector terminal and talked also a lot about what that actually is. So if you haven't watched that episode yet, I would highly recommend you to watch the previous episode and then of course come right back here. But today we are continuing our construction. We did actually manage to get quite some progress in our construction process of the French terminal or sector last time, but of course there's still plenty of things that need to be taken care of. And as we last time actually advanced quite a bit the departure hall, one thing we still need to install here is the security check. So the departure hall is of course on level -1, and then passengers go up here to ground floor level, and this is where we will have the security check. From there, passengers can then pass up to level 1, where we of course have the gates. And one more thing that we of course also desperately need to construct here is actually an access road to this terminal, because at the moment there isn't actually any way for passengers to access this part of the airport. We will still install another way for passengers to arrive from some of the other parts of the airport, but we of course do absolutely need to have an access road for that part of the airport. Now, one thing that I have noticed here at the terminal is that we actually have a little bit of an issue. You can see there are quite a few passengers stuck here. And now this is the second floor, which is basically on top of the French sector. And this part of this building is connecting the two sides of Terminal 2, the main Terminal 2 building and the East Wing. But as this part of the building hasn't been zoned in, there isn't actually any staff associated or assigned to this part of the airport. And that has led to the issue that I originally intended to have a passport control here, which was mainly to be manned passport and a few automatic ones. But since there was no staff assigned, that has of course led to this situation that these staffed passport controls haven't been open, and that has led to a massive backlog with passengers. Now I am kind of solving it at the moment by switching out most of these manned passport controls with automated ones, but of course also going forward now constructing this terminal, this issue will be solved because I will be zoning it in as a separate terminal, and that means the tasks that are here will be assigned to staff that we are hiring and assigning to Terminal 3. And the fact that we have had some of these areas that have been in active use and that have had staff requirements but haven't been zoned in as terminal sections would of course have contributed to the issues we have experienced throughout the airport. If you remember some episodes ago, we were looking at the ratings and saw that, for example, for Terminal 2 and Terminal 1, our staff requirements for the most part were met, but when we were looking at the overall view, we could see that there apparently were staff shortages. I was just not able to identify where these were. Now, I'm not saying that we have solved all our issues by fixing this and making this a terminal zone, but I would assume that most of our issues that we have seen in these rating systems would actually come from areas that simply have not been zoned in as terminals, because they have then therefore not had any staff assigned. Alright, but enough talk about zones and different issues we have had throughout this season so far, because it is of course time to construct this French sector so we can actually at least try to finish it in this episode. But let's see how far we get. Now, last time we did get quite far with the departure hall. I mean, we pretty much installed all the essential infrastructure that we need, but of course a departure hall here at our airport needs a little bit more than just the essentials. So we of course need seating arrangements, we need bathrooms, we need staff rooms, we need all these things that will make this terminal run properly. Alright, so now that we have worked on the departure hall, and before I forget that we don't just talk about zoning in this as a terminal, I should also just do it. So this will then be Terminal 3 here in the game. This is of course contradicting a little bit reality, because in real life Geneva Airport has Terminals 1 and 2, and then the French sector, which however isn't really specified as a separate terminal as such. But we don't have that option here in the game, so this will be marked as Terminal 3. We just have to live with that. But I don't think it's a bad thing in this case, because it will of course help us very much out with the operations of the building. But now let's move on with some constructing. Alright, so as we are pretty much done with the construction of our departure hall on level -1, let's move on to ground floor level, where we still have plenty of things to do. Now, the French sector terminal, or as it is known here in the game, Terminal 3, will be exclusively used by Air France and Hop Air France. And the reason for that is that in real life, the French sector is used for flights only going to France, so internal French flights basically. It is within the customs area of France, even though this is technically placed in Switzerland. And for that reason, I would like to build a lounge. Now, this lounge should of course be assigned to Air France, and the reason why we are building it on ground floor level is because we don't have space for it on the top level, where we will have the gate areas. Now, so this is of course still needing to be within the safety zone, so we will connect it via these escalators. So it is within the security zone, and it can only be accessed from the level +1. So passengers will go through security, go one level up to the gate area, and from there they can then pass down again and enter the lounge. Another thing we will be building here is of course the access to the land side, because yes, passengers will arrive on level -1 with buses, taxis and cars, but in this game passengers do arrive a little bit all over the place, so we do need to make sure that they can also arrive into this terminal if they're coming from any of the other landside areas. So we will have this simple little access to the road. Passengers will pass into the building through this narrow pathway, and then they can either go downstairs to the departure hall if they have any luggage that needs to be checked in, or they can go straight through security and then one level up to the gate areas. Alright, so we of course still have quite a few things we need to work on here in the French sector, mainly however around the gate area, but I think this is quite a large task which will require too much time to be completed in this episode, so we will continue the construction of the French sector in the next episode of Airport CEO here on the channel. We of course still have a few other things we need to take care of here. Of course we need to start hiring staff for this terminal, which I will start off with right away. And then I would also quickly like to mention there have been a few suggestions for airlines, like for example British Airways in the past episodes. I have taken note of that, and we will be signing more airlines very, very soon. So do stay patient with me here. But yeah, for now I think we have really reached the end of today's episode. While I am hiring more staff for this terminal, I would like to say thank you very much for watching today's episode. If you have enjoyed this video, then why not leave a like? That would be very much appreciated. And of course, if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? That would be absolutely awesome. With that, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.